Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. This was requested. This is Nelson's Battle. Let me read that again. Nelson's Battles in 3D, the Nile. It was 1453. I had to go back a couple seconds because I accidentally clicked the button and took me way up here, then hit the back button on accident and lost the whole video. So we're just going to pretend like that didn't happen. We'll go ahead and start it from here. Before we do get started with the video, if you can click on that thumbs up, subscribe, this is what it does. That's all it took. And it helps me out more than you know. You can donate to the channel through the thanks button. If you do, you request a video, your name sponsors that video. You've seen it on some of my things if you've paid attention or if you've had interest. If not, you can continue to request. It just takes a little bit more time. I do the sponsored videos first. Okay, let's get into the video.
HMS Leander and the sloop Mutine divert to try to tow Culloden clear. But it will prove a futile task. Culloden's fate shows just how small the room for error has been during the British approach. The French vanguard has now been under heavy attack for 30 minutes. Conquerant has been completely dismasted. Her captain is dying. A third of her crew are casualties. She is first to strike her colours. But it's not all one-way traffic. HMS Bellerophon is heavily outgunned in her contest with Lorient.
Okay, stupid question. HMS, is that His Majesty's or Her Majesty's, and is the S ship or sails? I could look it up, but I'd rather ask you. If it's a king, I'm going to guess His Majesty's ship or Her Majesty's ship. It's something I've never, sorry, I dropped a deck of cards. It's something that I've never thought about. So, fill me in, please.
200 men, a third of her crew, have been killed or wounded, and she's lost her main and mizzen masts. Her captain gives the order to cut the anchor cable, so the ship will drift out of the firing line. Around 8:30, two British stragglers, HMS Swiftshore and Alexander, joined the battle late.
Not
In
super
the smoke
swift, huh?
and gloom,
Swiftshore? Not too swift on the battle. And Alexander
joined the battle late. In the smoke and gloom, they pass the drifting hulk of Bellerophon and nearly fire on her by mistake. Swiftshore and Alexander break the enemy line either side of Lorient, pouring raking fire into the French flagship. Aboard Vanguard, Nelson's been hit in the forehead by a splinter, his face streaming blood.
All right, sorry about that. I wish it would stop doing that. Come on. There we go. All right, back to the video.
He thinks it's the end. "I am killed," he announces. "Remember me to my wife." But he's soon stitched up by the ship's surgeon and back in command. The wounds of French Commander Admiral Bruez aboard Lorient are far more serious. Horribly injured in the face and hands, he's then hit by a cannonball that removes his legs. He still refuses to leave his post on deck and dies there. As darkness falls, Guerrier and Spartiate, which have been under heavy fire for more than 2 hours, both strike their colours. Around the same time, HMS Leander breaks the French line between Peuple Souverain and Franklin, raking both. The battle is turning decisively in the Royal Navy's favour. Aquilon fights hard, turning herself to rake the British flagship HMS Vanguard. But in turn, she is raked by HMS Minotaur and hauls down her colours at 9:25. Peuple Souverain tries to escape by cutting her anchor cable and drifting down the French line.
Another stupid question. Normally land battles would stop once it got dark. Now, and I understand that. You know, it's hard to see your opponent back in those days. But why did they continue to fight at night in ships? Now, I know this is probably somebody just heard that and was like, did he really just say that? I apologize. I would assume that you're going to split up. Now, it's not like you're going to split up and go, you know, camp and then think of your battle. I understand it's completely two different, land and sea. I get it. But I guess, are you going to rely on the moonlight or so I'm not understanding that. I'm sounding like a mumbling buffoon, but I do apologize. But I would just have also assumed that you stop fighting at a certain time at night, but apparently not. Anyone let me know, please.
L'Orient mistakes her for the enemy and opens fire. Minutes later, the flicker of flames is seen through the lower deck gun ports of L'Orient. The fire spreads deck by deck until the massive French flagship is ablaze from stem to stern. Every onlooker knows that deep within L'Orient's hold lies her grand magazine, containing 30 to 40 tons of gunpowder. All ships in the vicinity take emergency measures. Gun ports are closed, and ships' sides, decks and sails are soaked with water from the elm pumps in anticipation of the explosion to come. French ships Tonnant, Heureux and Mercure cut their anchor cables, hoping to drift to a safe distance. Around 10 p.m, the fire reaches L'Orient's grand magazine. The warship is obliterated in a colossal explosion, killing everyone left on board, and many who jumped overboard to save themselves. More than 90%.
I'll go back on this, but I just wanted to. That is a beautiful painting. I'm just admiring the artwork. That's beautiful. And unfortunately, probably a really good, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Of what it would have looked like. Just, I mean, clearly this ship right here is not going to be that close, but that's a pretty good rendering, I guess, of what that just devastation would look like. And I understand that these would not be as close. I get that, but you're kind of compressing it all to understand it. Oh, that's really nice. I'm saying it's a beautiful painting. It represents the death of potentially tens, hundreds, or thousands of people. So I do understand that came off a little weird, but it's just a painting that I'm admiring, not the real thing. I don't have like one of those little pictures that flickers and like animated stuff where I'm like, oh, that's what really happened. That was the death of all those people. The Hindenburg disaster's going off on this, and I'm just like, that's beautiful. Look at that. All those people died. I don't mean it like that.
more than 90% of the ship's crew are killed, around 1,000 men. The sheer force of the explosion spares nearby ships, as flaming wreckage is blasted up and over them. Stunned, both sides stop firing to gaze in horror at the spectacle. British ships lower boats to rescue the few survivors. After a 10-minute lull, firing resumes. But after the appalling destruction of their flagship, the French are running out of fight. Swiftsure and Defence turn their guns on Franklin and soon force her surrender. Tonon, having cut her cables and unable to maneuver, drifts helplessly into the French rearguard. These 3 ships, unable to sail into the wind to join the action, have looked on impotently as the carnage unfolds. Dawn on the 2nd of August revealed a terrible scene of death and destruction. John Nichol of the Goliath was a witness. I went on deck to view the state of the fleets, and an awful sight it was. The whole bay was covered with dead bodies, mangled, wounded and scorched. Not a bit of clothes on them, except their trousers. The entire French vanguard had been captured or destroyed. Heureux and Mercure have run aground in their panicked attempt to escape the explosion of L'Orient. The 4 surviving French ships of the line will now attempt to fight their way clear. 2 run aground. Only the Généraux, Guillaume Tell and 2 frigates escape the devastation. The captain of the Guillaume Tell, Pierre Villeneuve, will face sharp criticism for failing to play a greater part in the battle. 7 years later, as fleet commander, he will face Nelson again at Trafalgar. British losses are 218 killed, 678 wounded. 3 ships are badly damaged: Bellerophon, Majestic and Culloden. French losses are around 1,700 killed and more than 3,000 taken prisoner, many of them wounded. 2 ships of the line and 2 frigates have been sunk. 9 have been captured. Of these, 3 are damaged beyond repair and burned. The remaining 6 enter service with the Royal Navy. To cap it all, most of the French treasury that General Bonaparte was relying on to fund his Egyptian campaign had been lost with L'Orient.
Have there been people out there in that area trying to find that treasure, or has it ever been found? Just asking.
Nelson's brilliant victory at the Nile had major consequences. The balance of naval power in the Mediterranean shifted dramatically in Britain's favour. General Bonaparte's expeditionary force in Egypt was cut off, and though its commander slipped back to France the following year, his army was forced to surrender in 1801. The French garrison of Malta also surrendered, the island becoming a British protectorate. French defeat encouraged her enemies to form a new second coalition and renew the war. Nelson was the hero of the hour, feted in royal courts from London to St. Petersburg and Constantinople. He received jewels, medals, ceremonial swords, and his long-coveted peerage, Baron Nelson of the Nile. The Nile was one of the most decisive and crushing naval battles in history. Some historians argue it was the most significant Nelson ever fought. But the battle with which Nelson's name was to be forever linked would be fought 7 years later, off Cape Trafalgar. Have you ever wanted to hear more from the ordinary soldiers and sailors of the Napoleonic Wars? What did combat look like from the front rank of the Grande Armée, or Wellington's army in Spain? What was it like to charge into the breach at Badajoz, or face Spanish partisans in the guerrilla war? In our next video, Epic History is bringing to life a score of dramatic eyewitness accounts from the Peninsular War, from French, British, Spanish, German and Polish veterans. And if you want to be first to see this new documentary, you can head over to Prestige streaming service Nebula. Nebula is...
I would rather watch this video than try to experience it or think about what it was like. No, I don't want to know what it was like. I'll listen to somebody else tell me what it was like, but I don't, and I'll watch a documentary, but I don't want to try to. Let's imagine what it was like to storm Normandy. No, I don't want to know any of that. I don't care. No, I don't want to know. I don't want that visual in my head. My grandpa stormed Omaha Beach. I always said Normandy, but it was I got the beach wrong. Omaha Beach. He never wanted to talk about it. I never wanted to know about it. No, nope. Not for me. All right, well, I'm going to end it here. I'm going to do the next video as well, but not today. But Nelson, yeah. An impressive guy. All right, well, we're going to end this here. But until next time, have a good day, have a good night.